Preparing to live stream the meeting.
Got it.
Okay. Are we live? Hi,
I think we
Theresa.
might be. Hi, Glenna.
Yes, it says so on my Zoom page. We are now live
Eh,
streaming on Facebook. How are you?
well,
Where are you?
I'm where am I? I'm currently in Derbyshire in England,
Ooh.
um, taking a class, um, which is an amazing class about bodies, and it kind of led me to ask you some questions about bodies because that's basically how you and I met far too many years ago than I care to
Right,
recall. But
right.
it was about a body class that we first met. And I remember my first ever question to you was, I don't know if you remember, but my first ever question to you was, Glenna, you know, if you got to do a hand position on a body and your hands don't reach because it's uncomfortable, like, how do you, like, what do you do? How do you do it? And you said to me, well, you ask your energetic fingers to assist. And I was like, whoa, I've got energetic fingers. Like, oh my God.
You do. We all do. That's so funny. That was like probably almost 8, 6, 7, 8 years ago or something, right? When we first
It
met.
was a global foundation in Paris.
I
Yeah.
remember that. I remember you. Yeah, yeah. I remember you asked me some parenting questions, I think, too. So this interview with Theresa here was inspired because she was talking to some people and they were like about some classes I have coming up and you should do a class with Glenna and they were like, "Who's Glenna Rice?" And she goes, "People don't know who you are." It's like, well, what can we do to change that? And I said, "Why don't we have you interview me
Yay. Who's
about
that
who
girl?
am I? Who is that girl? ¿Quién es esa niña? Who's that girl? We were going to put the Madonna song on, but we weren't sure if we could actually do that with Facebook. But
And
then,
I definitely couldn't have sung the intro. Like, you
oh,
wouldn't have anybody watching if that was the
come on,
case.
¿Quién es esa niña? Who's
But
that?
who are you?
Well, I was a Madonna wannabe when I was younger, many, many years ago.
Were you?
Yeah, I had crazy
I think
hair
I
and
was a
big
bit of a
earrings.
Madonna wannabe. Yeah, I never had the boobs for the bra though. Like, but that was definitely one of my like. She's pretty amazing.
Yeah, back when I was like 18. It was a long couple years back. But I still like the lady. I think she's pretty impressive. Um, yeah, so ask me a question. Do we want
Well,
to
I
talk
think
about energetic fingers or
energetic fingers. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, you are for those people who are going, well, who is that girl? Dr. Glenna Rice is a doctor of physiotherapy, physical therapy. She's a facilitator of access consciousness. She's an author, a speaker, an amazing mum. She is just truly multifaceted and multi-talented. So this interview stroke cool conversation could actually go in many different directions because you are literally like a kaleidoscope. Like we can turn that viewfinder and you fall into another beautiful pattern of magic that you create with things. But seeing as we were talking about energetic fingers, what is it that drew you to work with bodies? What fascinates you about bodies as opposed to working with cars? Or make like putting up buildings or something.
right, right, right.
Why bodies?
That's a great, good question. I do have a little bit of stuff with cars. It's funny because I did
I
work
know
on.
that's why I said
Can't do much, but I can. I've changed a radiator hose and a
I
tire.
said multi-talented.
Um, so I have my doctorate in physical therapy, and I got my master's degree many years ago from University of Southern California, really super great school. And before that, I was well, what got me to choose to get a career, a professional degree of working with bodies. I was a dancer in college, and I was looking at what I was going to do. I was going to go in the medical field. That was my plan. And I talked to a counselor, or no, there was a physical therapist that worked at a gym I was working out and teaching aerobics at. And I was really just intrigued. So I started looking into it more and then talked to a counselor about what I had to do. And they said, oh, your grades aren't good enough. It's one of the hardest programs to get into back in the day. Um, you won't get in. So when you tell, a humanoid, someone like me, that you can't do something, I was determined. So yeah, I started becoming extremely studious, got all my grades up, got all my test stuff, and got into a great school. I started working with bodies and worked in pediatrics for a while. That was pretty fun with kids with disabilities, physical stuff, cerebral palsy for quite a few years, and then wanted to do some more orthopedic work. Work with dancers was actually kind of my target always, and ended up taking this fascial release course by this guy, John Barnes, the physical therapist, John Barnes, and walked away and was like, this is what I want to do. Because what I had been doing and knew about bodies was pretty good, and I could create great changes and people were really happy with the work I did. But this exponentialized everything. And then a couple years into that, I started my own practice, got pregnant with my third baby, my little Rose Sheen, who's 20 now, and started my practice while I was pregnant with her and was having, like, I would work on bodies. It was, I mean, bodies would leave my office. I had a little home office, and I would be like dancing around my house, like I can do this. And there was changes that I'd never been able to do that were happening, and people were like, "Oh my God, you gave me my life back." Then I found access consciousness work and all the body work in there, and it made another leap, a huge other leap to exponentializing what I could contribute to what bodies and the people were asking to change with their bodies. And what I could see, my awareness, my body whispering, the spidey senses were getting greater and greater. And I've been doing that, for like 18 years now, and taking all of the access tools and using them with the body work. And then I've created my own class, the energetic manual therapy, that gives you where you're actually learning skills with the body, like hands-on, where you use your hands and your energetic hands and your spidey senses, your body whispering. I taught the 3-day body class since 2010, so 13 years. I was been a facilitator of the Access 3-day body class, which just everything added um, to my work with bodies. So that is kind of my thing, along with business and parenting and being and asking to be greater every day.
But
That was a lot.
even people in business and even children have bodies. So the
They
bodies
do.
follow through.
Exactly. Exactly.
They do indeed. So I know you said that you're an Access Consciousness 3-day body class facilitator.
Hmm.
I've had the absolute pleasure of being in some of your 3-day body classes.
Hmm.
So would you like to tell people what happens in a 3-day class?
Ooh. Um, a 3-day class, you get to trade with a partner, usually the same one for 3 days, that you pair up based on the energies of you that we pair you up. And there's lots of 3-day body classes all over the planet now. When I started, there was just a couple of us, and now I don't know if there's 100, but there's a whole bunch of amazing people. And during that class, you trade these energetic body processes. They're hands-on, lots of energy. It's not like you're manipulating bodies. You're placing your hands on different points on the body, and you're accessing, which is the name of this wonderful work, accessing your awareness of bodies, what the body can change, becoming more congruent with you and your ass, and starting to become aware of capacities that you have with bodies. So the capacities I have with bodies, I had some before, more when I started Access. When I started teaching the 3-day body class, stuff just started showing up, like what I know can change with a body, and what I also know the person won't necessarily be able to change during a
Mhm.
session. So I'm not giving them more than they can receive. All of that is greater. And you start to get that, what is unique to you. That's so cool about it for me, is that every person that comes to a class has a unique capacity, unique energies that they know and only they know, that they start to get to be able to use. And
Yeah,
your
I
body
love
changes. Crazy, crazy stuff. I was gonna
it
swear. Crazy.
does. It does, it does, it does. One of the things that I really love about a 3-day class, especially well, I mean all of them, but one of the capacities that you have that I perceive is allowing or enabling, I don't know what the right word would be, but you are able to show bodies almost to be able to perceive their magic with other bodies. So you talk about, like that body whispering. It's almost like you open a door and hold that space and hold that door and be like, look, this is what you're doing. This is what you can access. And then it's so cool in a class to see people actually step energetically through that door and access their own magic with bodies and their own capacities, because everybody's capacity and everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
And you have such a space of allowance and energetically at the same time supporting congruently with what people are choosing. And that's a really beautiful gift. So you get to spend 3 days nurturing your body as well as other people's bodies and beginning to access the magic that you might not have been willing to actually acknowledge you were capable of. But it's sometimes hard to avoid that awareness after a class because you're like, wow, I can do this. So yeah, I love that. I love it very much about
I'm
bodies.
a lot of allowance for bodies. I think bodies are pretty amazing. I even think bodies that are messed up are amazing. I mean, I just like what a body creates and how they create it, whether it's crazy, awful stuff, fabulous, magical stuff, or what we would judge as crazy, awful. All of that is fascinating to me. So that's part of what's fascinating to me about bodies. I don't have a lot of judgment about what people create, which allows that door to open. I'm really pragmatic.
You
That's
are.
part of what I am. I'm very direct. And I think I can give people a glimpse into what's possible with
Mm-hmm.
bodies. Like when they have a session, a private session with me, and I've been doing more. I've been doing a special. There's a special going on. We can buy 4 sessions for a discounted price. If you're interested, ping me. If you're in the Bay Area where I am right now, or you want to fly in, I can also do online stuff. Um, but I've been running this so you have buy 4 sessions, which has been really fun for me because I've been home a little bit more, and I've been able to do that many sessions kind of in a close period of time, and the results have been really fun to see what people are changing. Um, but I like there's a session and I'm working physically on the body and doing my EMT stuff, working with the body's connective tissue, the fascial system. And there's this change, and they get off the table and they don't have pain. They're not limping anymore. They can do a movement they couldn't do. Their strength is like they didn't even know they had that strength. They hadn't felt it in years. It's all this stuff is the body is just and the body. No one's asked me this question. I allow the body to show the person, the being, what is actually true for it. And then we work on what would it take to have that going into the future. What if you could have that now? And what I'm seeing is that they are keeping it. They're coming back into the next session or into the third session without the limp, without the
Yeah.
pain. Going, oh, I just walked up and down the stairs and I haven't done that in 15 years the way I just did or whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is a whole new door doing these, in a row
Mm.
sessions. I don't
And
know
and
how.
but
Package,
I love it
package
though.
deal. Sorry.
I love it. It's like, your work with, so basically, you took the work that the tools of access consciousness and the work that you had been doing with bodies, and then you took the work that you had learned previously before that you'd been studying the John Barnes's work, and the amazing Mr. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, gave you the name Energetic Manual Therapy, which became an Access Consciousness specialty class that's facilitated by you. And that's what you're talking about when you talk about EMT. It's energetic manual therapy.
Mhm.
So it is still hands-on, but you're working with the fascial system of the body.
That's
And
the target. The target's the whole body, and the fascia is where we can, like, speaking with that body system can create some
So
really
again,
transformative.
I've taken many EMT classes and the advanced EMT classes. So I'm a facilitator, a practitioner, an advanced practitioner of that modality. And I was in a class with you in Poland where I watched you work on somebody who had real restricted movement in their shoulder and their arm. And in like 15 minutes, you completely freed up this shoulder. The guy got up off the table. He could do like all kinds of things with his arm that he doctors had told him he wouldn't be able to do. And he'd bought those limitations, and I guess out of fear, possibly, but didn't want to hurt his body anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't. I'm going to say you didn't do anything, and that's not right. You didn't use any physical force. You invited the body to work with you to actually. It's often described energetic manual therapy as hands that dance with bodies, but the bodies respond to that energy. And I guess also from what I've seen is that they respond to that invitation that you be from a space of no judgment and no conclusion and willingness to ask the body a question. So tell me how you ask the body a question. How does that help to change things?
Yeah, it's not really a be a question with the body. I'm an invitation. Can you change this? Can you change this? And then whatever shows up, a big no, no way am I changing this. I've had this thing for 20 years. It's my favorite thing about me. I'll never change it. Cool. What else can you change? Can we work around it? Can I sneak it in? Can I sneak it? So what if you did change it? What would that create? Sometimes I'm asking these questions out loud. This is where the access tools of being the question and a contribution and choice and possibility um, changed everything I was doing with bodies. And yeah, I had this thing I was doing called myofascial release, which isn't what I'm doing anymore. It became something completely just greater, and it was
Evolved,
great to
yeah,
do.
completely.
Um, but the knowing about the energies of body, the energetic hands, and I played with the people, and I remember the first time I did that, the clearing statement, the podpoc statement, which you can look up the clearing statement on .com if you don't know what I'm talking about. So good, bad, right, wrong, podpoc, all nine shorts, boys, povids and beyonds. I was working with someone who was kind of open to whatever, working on her back, and I said, so I got this new thing. I just took this class. I just done the foundation. Can I try it on you? And she's like, yeah. And I had my hands on doing the stuff I do, doing a little invitation to creating change. I didn't call it that at all back then. And we were talking about something in our world. And I said, so I think everything you put behind you or whatever's back here, because we were working on a back, I'd pocked it. And the body went, more of that, more of that, more of that, please. So I'm also always acknowledging the change I'm creating and asking for more, which is a huge contribution with anything you do, to always ask for how does it get even better than this? How does it get any better than this? Is a big, thing that I would say after every session or after every class I taught. So I would have more and better and greater. So the how is being aware of them without judgment, and what do they want to change. I always ask a question, which is from Dr. Dane here, who inspired me a million different ways with the work he does and what he's created with his ESEs, ESBs, and SOP classes and Maestro. All of that is, if you can get anything out of the session, what would that be? And there's an energy that shows up that then we start creating with. And I never want to give them more than they can receive. I never want to expect that they're going to change a certain way, which is so cool, because if you don't have any expectations going in, you actually can be quite surprised. Like,
Mhm.
oh my God, that changed too. Like the guy you're talking about, I think the video's up somewhere. I think I have that on video up somewhere. Maybe we can link it into the stuff here. So I believe it is. And I didn't, when I started working on him, he popped, he was out in the audience, and I talked to him. He was in a body class, 3-day body class at the time. And I was doing an intro night, and he was like, bing. And I said, come on up. And I worked on him. And his history was pretty much, whoo, in this reality, no way we're going to do much. But I figured something would change because he hadn't had this work before, and it always changes something physically in the body. But I was actually quite surprised, delightfully surprised by how much he was able and willing to change. The body has to be working with me, though. I'm not doing it. EMTs not a doing, it's a creation with the body. And anyone can do it. In my class, it's not like you don't have to have a degree in physical therapy or be a body worker of any sort. In fact, people that aren't actually have more openness to possibilities because they haven't been trained. I mean, I heard someone say, if you're an artist, never go to art school because it will mess you up. If you're a body worker and a body whisperer, maybe don't go into the medical field because it might mess you up. Unless it's fun for you. Unless it's fun, ask questions.
Well, I know there's a few people watching us right now. So if anybody does have a question for Glenna, if you would like to know who that girl is, then please put your question in the chat and we can address that. But moving forward with this as well, I mean, there is absolutely no shadow of a doubt. Even Melanie has put in the chat, who is Glenna Rice? Who is Glenna? She is the magic with bodies. Yes, Melanie, I agree with you 1,000,000%.
Oh my
But
gosh, receive. I'm so funny. When I was gonna do this interview, I'm like, oh my gosh, Theresa says the nicest things about me. Am I gonna be okay hearing it? That's so. I mean, I these are things I could podpoc on myself. So who is Glenna? Glenna's a little bit has been shy in many times in her life, whatever that is, and I don't maybe get myself out there enough, which is why people maybe don't know who I am. I used to, well, I still do travel all over the world doing the EMT and the body classes, the 3-day body classes. And the pandemic took a little, I took a little 2-year hiatus and just did classes here where I live in California. So I'm kind of getting out there again, bigger.
so the body classes and energetic manual therapy, they are hands-on modalities. They are,
Yeah,
as Mr. Gary Douglas says, bodies like to be touched, bodies like to receive.
yes,
So they are, people got to come and see you wherever it is in the world that you are, and those 10 seconds. And you also don't just do those classes, you do foundation classes, bars classes, business done different classes, and parenting classes. You're even a huge contributor to a book about parenting that's
yeah,
available in the Access Consciousness website. And I have to say, like, hand on heart, the tools that I've learned from you in body classes and in energetic manual therapy, even though they're the hands-on stuff, they still transfer, and I use them with my children. And like, you should literally be Auntie Glenna, because like the things that I use with my kids, I've learned it all from you. Like, if Dane's got his book, Empowerment, the book that you should have been given when you were born. Glenna should have a parenting book that's like, this is parenting, the book you're given when you get pregnant. Because the information that you have and the cool, all those things you talked about, bodies, that no judgment, no conclusion, inviting the being and the body to change. You use those tools transferably with your business classes and with your parenting classes. So would you like to tell us a little bit? Because I could wax lyrical about you all day and tell everybody how wonderful you are, but you tell me about because your kids grew up using the tools in Access classes.
they did. And you use the tools. I've seen you with your youngest two. Your
Yeah,
older ones are not living with you, but you are
no.
amazing with them, with the tools. Yeah, I had 3 kids, and I think my oldest was like 10 or 11, and my youngest was 2 or 3 when I started, and then 7 in the middle, 7-year-old. So yeah, they grew up, especially my youngest. She grew up with the tools. And at one point, Gary, I asked him some weird question, which he doesn't do these. Gary Douglas, founder of Access. He doesn't do this question necessarily in classes anymore, but I started way back when we were smaller groups, not 300 people in a class, but 50. Um, and it was like, what can I do to make money? And he said, teach parenting classes. And I was like, ah, I don't like parenting. I have 3 kids. Have you seen my life? Oh my God. And then I went, okay, well, I know this man that I'm, listening to in these courses, has some like spidey sense awareness. Like, he's got amazing awareness. And if he saw something, let me ask some questions. So I didn't discount it completely. I said, okay, what would it take to take parenting classes? And ended up sitting down with them maybe a month later in an advanced class in a 7-day, I believe, in Costa Rica. And he gave me this list of all, a whole bunch of things to put in a parenting. And I started teaching conscious parenting. The name was Conscious Parenting, Conscious Kids back then. And then it became, now it's an Access specialty class with other facilitators, Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids. And yeah, I took, when I did my first foundation class, I started using those tools. They tell you about the 10 commandments, or it was called the 13 commandments when I started of Access. And I became a facilitator within about 2 years, because my life became something I'd never imagined I could have. I had an ease with my life. I had joy and a little giggle. I mean, joy was something I never even thought about. Still working on that one, but I had ease with my kids. And someone had said, I was like, what? People were saying, you're such a great parent. And I'm like, what? What? And I think it was Simone Milasas, amazing woman. She was the worldwide coordinator of Access. And I stopped her. I said, what is it? So, and what are people keep telling me I'm such a good parent. It's weird for me to hear that. What is it? And she goes, you have such an ease, which I had some before, but I didn't acknowledge it. I really didn't acknowledge where I kind of demanded to have ease in parenting in weird ways. And that encompasses so many things, from like doing the dishes to getting them to school on time, to when they have fights with their friends, to, migraines, which my oldest has had some stuff with this, my youngest daughter, sorry, during the pandemic. So it's not that weird stuff doesn't happen, but the Access tools, these questions we have, this contribution, possibility, choice, question, all being that with everything that shows up allows you to change things or have ease with things or allowance. And just having ease and allowance with something that's like, what the train wreck that showed up when your kid comes home. You've had a couple, I've had a couple, we've shared. I won't share them on here, but that changes it, because you don't resist and react the way this reality tells you you're supposed to resist and react with a parenting or with a body. When someone comes in with a diagnosis and they're like, ah, the space and allowance, that the more I can be that, the more they have a harder time resisting and reacting, because I don't align and agree with it. This is a body one that I think was really funny to me. This guy came in and he was diabetic and had this and that and Crohn's disease, like a million, Lyme disease, everything you can imagine, like just a whole bunch of different things. He was a mess. He was in his late 20s, early 30s, young man and I looked at him, I was like, wow, if you can create all of that, what else could you create? And he looked at me like I was the biggest psycho he'd ever seen. He'd never heard a medical professional say that to him. And then he just started to laugh. Like, no one has ever looked at everything I've done with my body as some kind of a talent. And I'm like, if you can create that, and with the kids, if they can create a mess, they can create magic too.
Totally.
It actually goes with us too, not just our kids and our bodies.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I've got 4 children, and 2 of them are still living at home. They're 15 and they're twins, one of whom is, this reality would say that he's got autism. He's a little X-Men of magnitude, but the tools have really contributed, not just with him, but with his school, and getting like other healthcare professionals that have been involved with him, who wrote him off, who weren't prepared to change things for him. And then I've asked questions, or I've even been, some people might have said angry, I would said potent, and used the potency and demand, and they've just, their barriers and their resistance and their projections have melted away. And that's been able to be present from using those tools. Because I mean, I know we're talking about parents, but as well, you do business done different. And Simone Milasas says, if you wake up and you're alive, you're in the business of living. And so even the tools from business done different and from foundation class weave into parenting and weave into the creation of your body and your life. So I mean, yeah, and they're classes that people can take online with you if you're in San Francisco or wherever you are in the world.
Yes, the business. Yeah, and I actually have a parenting class coming up in November, around the 20th, just before our Thanksgiving holiday here, and then a body class right after. In here locally in my house, the body class. Someone said, "I need a body class. Can you do one?" I was like,
I'll
"Yeah,
book
at
my
home."
flights. I'm coming. My
I
body
would,
and
that would
I
be
are on our
so,
way.
that would be so delightful for me to have you come to a body class here. You can crash out. I got a place you could sleep. It'd be awesome. Just got to get you a flight.
Well, Elka said in the chat that her very first class, I remember when you took that class with Glenna, she said it was her very first class with you as a parenting class, and she's still grateful for all the change that that class brought. And yeah, I mean, thank you. Thank you for choosing that class with Glenna. I remember that class.
Yeah.
And all the classes that you do, I think it's the tools of access consciousness are phenomenal, and you bring a level of potency and awareness and magic that just amplifies those tools. So I
Mhm.
am truly, truly grateful for you. What
Good.
would you like to say about business? Because I mean, before we go, because we've been keeping everybody here, they're all going to know everything about you. One know your bra size, your knicker size, your shoe size. You should tell them the shoe story. That's a good business and money creation, is your shoe story.
That is a good story. Okay, we'll do my shoe story. So, one of the questions, so a lot of the business tools come from Gary Douglas and what he used to teach in facilitators classes years ago, or just the questions he gave out. We've got books, If Money Isn't the Problem You Are, Right Riches for You, and The Joy of Business book. Simone Milosis wrote, and Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. There's just a whole bunch of online things you can get besides classes that we can give you these tools. So one of the questions that's asked, it's a business question and a life question because you're in the business of your life, is if I buy this, will it make me money? So just not to buy stuff just because you think it's awesome, but to ask the thing, if I buy you, will you make me money? Meaning you're looking at your future. You're looking at the future you're creating by adding this to your life, and does it create a greater future? And money is one of the things. You can also, body, do you want to wear this? Do you want to have this? There's other things, but I walked into this like Ross Dress for Less, TJ Maxx type of a store. I was just pulled in, and I like that store. You can really sometimes find some really cool designer stuff at great prices. And I think sometimes the things call me in like, I'm here waiting for you. You don't have to spend $1,000. And I walked back to the shoes way down in the bottom corner. And I've got a small foot, size 6 or 35, 36 in European sizes. And there was these pair of black patent leather Prada shoes. And I just started teaching the body classes. I was growing that business, and people didn't really know who I was. Who's that girl? Anyway, I put them on like Cinderella slippers. Like they just slipped on my feet, and they were marked down like 75% off. They were $250, which was more than I'd spent on a pair of shoes. I'd probably gotten up to 100, but this was like, yeah, things were tight. Divorce, child support stuff was going on. I was like, well, I could put them on my card. And I asked them, so if I buy you, will you make me more money? And it was a big light. Yes, they'll make me more money. So I bought them. I walked up to the counter a few times. It took me a minute. I got them. I wore them. People started commenting on my shoes. I got a few other nice pairs of heels. And it was like, and then I showed people how to walk in heels in some classes. We did like a walking with your body and walking with heels in part of the body classes. Um, and people started knowing me because I was the lady with them shoes. Have you seen Glenna walk in shoes? Have you seen her shoes? Have you seen her legs? And then it started to skyrocket, and they absolutely did contribute to me making more money in my future, though I would have never been able to figure out how. I would have never thought that people would go, oh, Glenna, have you seen her shoes? And I do and always have loved shoes, and I can rock a high heel. My many years of dance, I'm pretty good in the heel. Yeah, so there's a business tool. If I buy you, will you make me more money? If I choose this, will you make me more money? If you're choosing access classes, that's a great question. If I go to this class, will it make me more money? It creates an ease for you to have the awareness of the future something is going to create for you to have. You won't know the specifics or the how, but you'll know that it creates something greater in your future by how the energy is and how you perceive after you ask that question. And it takes practice. All these tools take practice. So is that the story you were talking about, right?
That is the story.
That was it.
I
Okay.
actually, when I facilitate classes, I actually tell people your story as an example. I use you in my classes. I talk about you. So yeah, and I mean, one of the things we haven't really touched on, but maybe we could really quickly, is actually your love of dancing. I mean, you talked about walking in the shoes and rocking the shoes, but you do have an incredibly elegant way of walking and being with the earth and with bodies that I think Bruno, she is indeed. Bruno says that you are wonderful.
Bruno's wonderful. Hi, Bruno. Hi, Bruno.
But you have a way of an elegance about you that I think really stems from your dance background. And I remember when we did the EMT artistry class in Amsterdam, we got to work on Kalpana's dance people, and that was magical, using the energetic manual therapy tools with real dancers from Kalpana, who now facilitates Choice for Possibilities. We worked on Kalpana and her dancers, so really bringing your journey full circle, incorporating all your loves that still revolve around bodies.
Yes, that was a treat. Oh my gosh, yeah, Kalpana was in town and her dancers were rehearsing and we went and saw the rehearsal, a few people that were in the advanced class, and then afterwards I was like, "Huh, you guys want to work on dancers?" And I asked Kalpana and her team. I love Kalpana. Thank you, Kalpana. Um, Asked them if they wanted to come in and we could do sessions on them so you guys could practice on people that weren't in the class and bodies that are quite energetic and strong and amazing and do a lot of competitive movement, which this work can be beautiful for every body, not just dancers' bodies. But yeah, I mean, a dancer's body, and there's
Yeah.
lots of points of views in dance. I could do a whole, talk just on that and what changes. I
Maybe
don't,
we will. Maybe we'll
yeah.
do another one. And Bruno's just said that your elegance with bodies always blows his mind, and you've taught him so much. And
Oh,
I truly have to second that, Glenna. I mean, your elegance of being, your elegance with bodies, the way that you facilitate change, and I've seen it so many, many times for people. You invite the body and the being to a completely different way of being and a different possibility that they hadn't known was available or weren't choosing. So yeah, I truly would like to say thank you to you. And if you all love this, we'll do another Who's That Girl, and we'll get Glenna on dancing.
that would be fun. Oh, that would be fun. I would love to have more dancers in my world to work on them. Yeah, and thank you, Theresa, for inspiring this interview and wanting me to get out there more. And all of the people like Bruno and everyone who's taken my classes and is using these tools on bodies. I see your Facebook posts. I may not comment, but I'll give you a heart. I mean, there's amazing people in Japan that are posting videos and before and after in these sessions they are doing and the results they're getting, the comments they're getting. The bodies choosing it and receiving it make me so, like, it creates so much joy in my world. And thank you, Gary Douglas and Access Consciousness and Dr. Dane here and everyone who's ever got a session from me or come to one of my classes, because all of you and all of your bodies contributed to what I'm creating. And
That
you,
is so
Grace, have been
beautiful.
to many classes, and you've been a massive, massive contribution, and I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, well, it's very mutual, and thank you so much for everything that you've done for me and that you continue to do for bodies. So, as Glenna said, she's got some classes coming up. You can go to San Francisco, take a 3-day body class in her beautiful home. There's some parenting classes coming up. And is it Japan you're going to in February?
And Ecuador, Quito, where
Ecuador.
Bruno might be. Yeah, I'm going to Quito, and then, oh, a New York class. I'm going to New York, which I love. My brother lives there for an EMT in December. Christmas in New York.
Oh my God, Glenna, stop. Now I've got to book 2 flights. I got to come to San Francisco and New York. But what a hard trip.
Come stay with
What a
me for
hard
a couple
life.
months, and we'll just travel around.
Oh, don't tempt me. Don't I might just show up there. Me and my haversack. I'll be like Huckleberry Finn. I'm coming to America.
And we'll have so much fun. We'll open up the prosecco and have chats all
Oh,
night. It'll be a fabulous evening. days.
How could anyone refuse that? So if you would like to come and join Glenna and myself with the Prosecco, the bodies, the fun, the joy, ping one of us, or you can look at Glenna's website, and we hope to see you and your body somewhere in a class, somewhere in the world very, very soon. Mwah. Thank you, Glenna.
You.
Bye, everyone.